The world watched with bated breath as white smoke billowed from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel. A new pope had been chosen. The anticipation in St. Peter's Square was palpable. Who would emerge on the balcony to lead the Catholic Church into the future? Then the announcement came. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines was now Pope Francis II. For the first time in centuries, the Church had a new leader from Asia. This was a historic moment, a testament to the Church's global reach and its growing presence in the East. The faithful erupted in cheers. This was a moment of immense joy and profound significance for Catholics worldwide. The weight of the papacy, a lineage stretching back to St. Peter himself, now rested on the shoulders of this humble man from Manila. Pope Francis II, known for his warm humility and deep spirituality, was a beacon of hope for the faithful. He embodied the spirit of Vatican II with its emphasis on dialogue, engagement and renewal. His election signaled a new chapter, not just for the Catholic Church, but for the world. As Pope Francis II stepped onto the balcony, a sea of faces greeted him. Flags from every corner of the globe waved in the air. The crowd chanted his name, their voices echoing through the ancient square. This was a day of celebration, a moment of unity and shared faith. The atmosphere was electric. Strangers embraced, and tears of joy streamed down their faces. The universality of the Church was on full display. From the Philippines to Poland, from Brazil to the United States, Catholics rejoiced in this historic moment. The election of Pope Francis II transcended geographical boundaries and cultural differences. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica pealed in jubilation, their joyous sound carried on the gentle Roman breeze. This was more than just the inauguration of a new pope. It was the beginning of a new era, one filled with promise and expectation. The world watched, and the world hoped. With a warm smile and a twinkle in his eye, Pope Francis II addressed the crowd. His voice, gentle yet firm, resonated through the square. "My brothers and sisters," he began, his words echoing the spirit of his namesake, Pope Francis. "Let us journey together in faith, hope, and love." He spoke of the challenges facing the world: poverty, inequality, conflict, and the climate crisis. He called for a renewed commitment to social justice, urging the Church to be a voice for the voiceless and a defender of the poor and marginalized. His words were not merely pronouncements from on high, but a heartfelt plea from a pastor who deeply cared for his flock. "We must be instruments of peace," he declared, building bridges of dialogue and understanding. He emphasized the importance of interfaith collaboration, recognizing the shared values that unite people of different faiths. His message was one of unity, a call for all people of goodwill to work together for the common good. Pope Francis II's journey to the papacy was marked by humility and service. Born and raised in the Philippines, he experienced firsthand the struggles of the poor and marginalized. He was known for his pastoral approach and his ability to connect with people from all walks of life. His humility shone through in everything he did. Rising through the ranks of the Church, he served as Archbishop of Manila before being appointed Cardinal. His leadership was characterized by compassion, intelligence, and a deep commitment to social justice. He was a vocal advocate for the poor, the oppressed, and the environment. He challenged the powerful, speaking truth to power with courage and conviction. His election as Pope was a testament to his character and unwavering faith. He was a man of the people, a shepherd who knew his flock. Now he was called to lead the global Church, to be a beacon of hope for a world in need of guidance and inspiration. Throughout his first address, Pope Francis II emphasized the themes of hope, inclusivity, and unity. He called on the Church to be a welcoming home for all, regardless of their background, beliefs, or sexual orientation. He stressed the need for compassion, reminding the faithful that we are all children of God. This historic moment marked not only the beginning of a new papacy, but also a renewed sense of purpose for Catholics around the world. Pope Francis II's leadership promised a church that would engage with the modern world, embracing diversity while holding steadfast to its core mission of love and service. The importance of dialogue and understanding, urging Catholics to engage with the world with open hearts and open minds, cannot be overstated. The Church is not a fortress, Pope Francis II proclaimed, but a field hospital open to all who are wounded by life. His words, gentle yet resolute, were a balm to those who felt marginalized or excluded. They carried the message of radical inclusion, reminding the faithful that the Church's doors are open to everyone, no matter their background, struggles, or beliefs. Pope Francis II's vision of unity extended beyond the Catholic Church. He emphasized the necessity of greater interfaith dialogue and cooperation, pointing to the shared values that bind humanity together. In his address, he declared, "We are all children of God, called to live together in peace and harmony. Our differences are not a wall, but a bridge to greater understanding." The newly elected Pope understood the immense challenges the world faced. Climate change threatened the future of the planet, inequality widened the gap between the rich and poor, and conflicts raged across borders. Pope Francis II's message was not one of despair, but of action. He reminded the faithful that faith must translate into deeds, urging them to engage with the world and be instruments of positive change. "We must not turn our backs on the suffering of others," he said with conviction. "Faith without compassion is empty. Let us walk hand in hand with those in need, offering hope where there is none." His call was heard not only in St. Peter's Square, but also around the globe. From bustling cities to remote villages, his message resonated with millions. In places plagued by war, his plea for peace was a source of comfort. In communities battling poverty, his emphasis on social justice ignited hope. Pope Francis II was no stranger to hardship. Born and raised in the Philippines, he had witnessed the struggles of the poor and marginalized firsthand. His humble beginnings shaped his worldview, instilling in him a deep empathy for those who suffered. As a young priest, he walked the streets of Manila, offering comfort to the downtrodden and advocating for the voiceless. Even as he rose through the ranks of the Church, his humility remained unshaken. As Archbishop of Manila, he was known for his simple lifestyle, his open-door policy, and his genuine concern for his flock. His compassion extended beyond Catholics, embracing people of all faiths and backgrounds. His election as Pope was a moment of profound joy for Filipinos and Catholics worldwide. For the first time in centuries, the Church had chosen a leader from Asia, a testament to its global reach and the growing significance of the Eastern world. Pope Francis II did not shy away from the daunting challenges of the modern era. His first speech as Pope laid bare his priorities: climate change, poverty, inequality, and conflict. He spoke with a sense of urgency, calling on world leaders to act with courage and compassion. "Climate change is not merely an environmental issue, it is a moral one," he said, his voice echoing through the square. "The earth, our common home, is crying out for care. We must respond with love and responsibility." He urged governments and individuals alike to adopt sustainable practices, emphasizing the interconnectedness of humanity and the planet. His call to action resonated deeply, sparking discussions and inspiring movements across the globe. On issues of poverty and inequality, his words were equally powerful. A society that ignores its most vulnerable members is a society that has lost its soul, he declared. He challenged the global community to prioritize the needs of the poor, advocating for policies that promote equity and justice. Pope Francis II's vision of unity was not confined to the Church. He sought to bridge divides between nations, religions, and cultures. His emphasis on interfaith dialogue was a cornerstone of his papacy, reflecting his belief in the power of collaboration. "We are stronger together," he said. "Our shared humanity transcends our differences. Let us build bridges, not walls, and work towards a world where peace and understanding prevail." He called for reconciliation in areas torn apart by conflict, offering prayers and practical support for peace-building efforts. His outreach extended to leaders of other religions, fostering mutual respect and cooperation. One of the defining features of Pope Francis II's papacy was his commitment to inclusivity. He emphasized that the Church must be a home for all, regardless of race, gender, socio-economic status, or sexual orientation. His words were a source of comfort to those who had long felt excluded. "The Church's mission is to welcome, not to judge," he said. "Let us remember that love is the essence of our faith. It is through love that we draw closer to God and to one another." His inclusive approach marked a significant shift, signaling a new era of openness and acceptance within the Church. Pope Francis II's election was a beacon of hope for a world often overshadowed by division and despair. His message of compassion, unity, and action inspired millions to believe in the possibility of a better future. His warmth and humility captured the hearts of people from all walks of life. He was not just a spiritual leader, but a global figure advocating for justice, peace, and the environment. His first speech as Pope set the tone for a transformative papacy, one that promised to leave an indelible mark on history. As the sun set on the day of his election, the world watched with anticipation. The journey ahead was filled with challenges, but also with immense potential. Pope Francis II, the humble shepherd from Manila, had taken his place as the leader of the Catholic Church. He stood as a symbol of hope and renewal, ready to guide the faithful towards a brighter future. His words echoed in the hearts of millions, inspiring them to live with greater compassion and purpose. Pope Francis II's call to prayer and reflection was a cornerstone of his first days as the leader of the Catholic Church. He reminded the faithful that prayer is not just a ritual, but a means of strengthening the bond with God and the global community. "In prayer we find our strength," he said. "It is in these quiet moments that we hear the voice of God guiding us to greater understanding, compassion, and action." His encouragement to embrace both personal and collective prayer resonated deeply with millions, urging them to seek inner peace while working toward the betterment of society. Whether in churches, homes, or public spaces, Catholics around the world joined in prayer, embodying the unity that Pope Francis II emphasized in his vision for the future. As he continued to spread his message, he reminded believers that prayer was not just for solace, but for justice. "Let our prayers be active," he urged. "May they not only comfort our souls, but ignite our spirits to work for justice, peace, and the well-being of all people." Pope Francis II recognized that the younger generations hold the keys to a more just and compassionate world. His papacy was marked by a special emphasis on youth involvement in the life of the Church and society. During his speeches, he called upon young people to lead with passion and integrity, challenging them to address global issues with creativity and resolve. "You are the future of the Church and the future of the world," Pope Francis II told young crowds during his first public appearances. "Your energy, your ideas, and your commitment to justice and equality are the light that will guide us all." The youth responded with enthusiasm, inspired by his words and his willingness to listen to their concerns. Pope Francis II's openness to discussing topics such as climate change, social justice, and human rights with the younger generation set the tone for a new era of collaboration between the Church and young people across the globe. His papacy was destined to foster a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. One of the most striking aspects of Pope Francis II's papacy was his unwavering commitment to service. He had always emphasized that leadership in the Church is about service to others. "A true leader is one who serves with humility, who listens with compassion, and who acts with justice," he said, drawing from the teachings of Jesus. His approach to leadership was not one of authority from above, but a model of leading by example. As Pope, he sought to live simply, as he always had, refusing the luxuries often associated with the papacy. He chose to live in the Vatican guest house rather than the Apostolic Palace, a symbolic gesture to demonstrate his commitment to a life of simplicity. His refusal to indulge in material wealth served as a powerful reminder that the true treasures of life are found in service to others. This humble approach to leadership was not only a reflection of his personal values, but also an invitation to all Catholics to follow in his footsteps. He urged the faithful to embrace a life of service and compassion, especially towards the marginalized, the sick, and the poor. He reminded them that Christ's message was clear: "Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me." Pope Francis II understood that global peace could only be achieved through deep reconciliation and forgiveness. He called upon all people, regardless of their nationality, religion, or background, to work towards reconciliation in areas torn apart by conflict and violence. "Peace is not just the absence of war," he said. "True peace is built on justice, understanding, and love. It is the peace that comes from forgiveness and the willingness to heal old wounds." His message was particularly poignant in conflict zones such as the Middle East, where Christians and other minority groups were suffering. Pope Francis II made it clear that the Church would be a voice for peace and a strong advocate for the protection of vulnerable communities. He traveled to areas in need of reconciliation, offering his presence as a symbol of hope and healing. He also called for an end to the arms trade, which fuels many of the world's conflicts. "We must stop the flow of weapons that destroy families and communities," he urged, highlighting the moral responsibility of nations to promote peace and security. His advocacy for peace was both a spiritual and a practical call to action, resonating with people of all faiths and backgrounds who yearned for a world free from violence and division. A significant part of Pope Francis II's papacy focused on environmental stewardship, particularly the need to address climate change and protect the planet for future generations. He built upon the work of his predecessor, Pope Francis, who had already made significant strides in raising awareness about environmental issues. Pope Francis II brought a fresh urgency to the issue, emphasizing that the health of the planet is directly tied to the health and well-being of the world's poor and marginalized. "The earth is not just a resource to be exploited," he said. "It is a gift from God, entrusted to us to care for and protect." He called for systemic change in how the world approaches environmental conservation, urging governments, corporations, and individuals to adopt sustainable practices and to act as stewards of God's creation. His message included specific calls to reduce carbon emissions, protect biodiversity, and invest in renewable energy. In addition to his environmental advocacy, Pope Francis II also emphasized the need to protect vulnerable communities from the impacts of climate change. The poorest and most vulnerable are the first to suffer the effects of environmental destruction, he said. His call to action extended beyond religious and national boundaries, uniting people worldwide in a common cause for the future of the planet. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis II remained deeply committed to amplifying the voices of the voiceless, those who had long been forgotten or oppressed. He consistently spoke out against injustice, inequality, and discrimination, advocating for the rights of refugees, migrants, and the marginalized. "Let us not be silent in the face of injustice," he declared. "Let us be a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the weak, and a protector of the vulnerable." Pope Francis II's dedication to social justice inspired many to stand alongside him in the fight for a fairer, more compassionate world. He used his platform to shine a light on issues that were often overlooked by mainstream society, calling for action on behalf of the homeless, the incarcerated, and the disabled. He also strongly advocated for gender equality, urging the Church to give women a greater voice in its governance and decision-making. "Women are not only the future of the Church, they are its heart," he said, calling for a church that fully embraced the talents and gifts of all its members, regardless of gender. As Pope Francis II continued his papacy, the world watched with hope and anticipation. His election marked the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the Catholic Church, one that promised healing, renewal, and transformation. His deep spirituality, humility, and commitment to social justice had already won the hearts of millions. The faithful and the world at large waited eagerly to see how his leadership would shape the future of the Church and impact the global community. As Pope Francis II's papacy unfolded, it became clear that he was poised to leave a legacy of peace, unity, and love that would resonate for generations to come. Don't forget to subscribe to Lunar Wisdom for more insights on historical moments and updates on impactful global events.